My fiance demanded I let his mother plan our entire wedding because she knows what's best. When I refused, he canceled my dress appointment and said, "You don't need to worry about the details." His mother smiled sweetly as I took off my engagement ring and said, "Then you two can walk down the aisle together." I should have seen the signs. I really should have. But when you love someone, you overlook things. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. That you're just overreacting. That it's normal. That he is normal. Nathan and I had been together for 4 years. We met in college, moved in together after graduation, and when he proposed, I was over the moon. The first few months of our engagement were perfect. We were in that newly engaged honeymoon phase, picking out venues, talking about honeymoon destinations, making Pinterest boards. Every night, we'd sit on the couch, drink wine, and scroll through ideas together. Then his mom got involved. Margaret. Margaret was always involved. She had opinions on everything. Big things, small things, it didn't matter. She had a way of inserting herself into situations where she wasn't needed. I saw it happen with Nathan's sister's wedding. I saw it happen when his brother bought his first house. Margaret always had something to say. And people let her. Because Margaret didn't suggest things. She decided things. At first, I thought she was just trying to be helpful. She'd send me links to wedding dresses she thought were classier than the styles I liked. She'd call with suggestions about catering, venues, photographers. I tried to be polite. I tried to compromise. But then things started changing. The guest list tripled because Margaret couldn't possibly exclude all her friends. The menu was altered because she had better taste. Even my bridesmaids' dresses were changed because she thought my color scheme was too trendy. I told Nathan I wasn't comfortable with this. That it was too much. That she was taking over. "She's just trying to help," he said. That was always his response. Every time I brought up an issue, every time she crossed a line, every time I felt like I was suffocating. "She's just trying to help." Then one day, I got a call from our florist. "Hi, I just wanted to confirm the change in your flower arrangements." "What change?" Margaret had called them. She changed everything. She picked her flowers. The ones she thought would look better. I was livid. I called Nathan immediately, ready for him to back me up, to call his mom and fix this. But he just sighed and said they were too expensive anyway. She did this without telling me, and he was okay with it. I sat with that for a while. I let it sink in. But I loved him. I told myself it wasn't a deal breaker. That I could fix this. That I could set boundaries. That it was still our wedding, not Margaret's. Then she went too far. I had been waiting for months for my dress appointment. It was at a boutique I loved, a place that was booked solid for months. I had a specific dress in mind, and this was the only place that carried it. The night before my appointment, I got a text from the boutique. "Your fiance has canceled your dress appointment. Please let us know if you'd like to reschedule." I stared at my phone. My heart was pounding. I called them immediately. "Yes, your fiance called this morning. He said you wouldn't be needing the appointment anymore." I thought it was a mistake. That they had the wrong number. That someone else's appointment had been canceled. But no, Nathan had called them himself. I confronted him as soon as he got home. He didn't even look guilty. "It was getting too expensive," he said. Too expensive. This was the same man who had just put down a deposit for a 5-star venue. The same man who insisted on a live band instead of a DJ. The same man who wanted a custom suit instead of a rental. And suddenly, my dress was too expensive? I asked him how he could possibly think this was okay. He just shrugged. "You don't need to worry about the details." Margaret, who was sitting nearby, just smiled. She knew. She had planned this. That was it. I took off my engagement ring, set it on the counter, and said, "Then you two can walk down the aisle together." I grabbed my purse and walked out. Nathan blew up my phone. Calls. Texts. Voicemails. He wanted to talk. He wanted to work things out. He said I was being dramatic. That I was throwing away our future over nothing. Margaret called my parents. She told them I was being hysterical. That I was abandoning Nathan. That I was shaming their family. My parents, who never liked Nathan much to begin with, laughed in her face. My mom told her, "I don't know who you think you are, but my daughter is not your puppet." Then she hung up. I started packing my things that night. I was done. I was moving out. Then I got another call from my bridal boutique. Nathan didn't know I had already paid a deposit. A non-refundable deposit. And since I was the bride, they wouldn't refund him. I called the boutique and said, "Oh, I'm still coming in for my dress appointment." I went in. I tried on my dream dress. And I bought it. For myself. I moved out of our apartment the next day. Nathan? He didn't know how to function without me. The man didn't know how to cook. Didn't know how to clean. Didn't know how to pay bills because guess who had been handling all of that? Me. And Margaret? She thought this was her moment. She moved into our apartment. She packed his lunches. She did his laundry. She micromanaged every aspect of his life. And suddenly, Nathan didn't like it so much anymore. A few months later, I got a message from a mutual friend. Nathan had a meltdown. He told Margaret she was ruining his life. So Margaret? She moved out. And Nathan? He couldn't handle it. Last I heard, he moved back in with his mom. 30 years old. Living with his mother. And me? I took that wedding dress. And I booked a trip to Italy. Nathan started reaching out again. At first, it was small things, emails, random texts from unknown numbers, blocked calls. I ignored them. I had moved on. I was done. But then he started showing up. I was at a cafe one morning, sipping my coffee when I felt it. That prickling sensation at the back of my neck. I looked up, and there he was. Just standing there, staring at me. I didn't react. I didn't smile. I didn't frown. I just went back to my coffee. But he didn't leave. He walked up to my table and sat down across from me like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't left him. Like he hadn't ruined everything. Hey, he said, like this was casual. I put my cup down and looked him dead in the eye. What do you want, Nathan? I miss you, he said. His voice was low, careful, like he was trying not to scare me off. I think we should talk. There's nothing to talk about, I said. He exhaled, shaking his head. I screwed up. I know that. I waited. I let my mom take over. I didn't stand up for you. I didn't realize how much pressure I was putting on you until you left. I raised an eyebrow. You canceled my dress appointment. He swallowed. Yeah. You told me I didn't need to worry about the details. You let your mother make decisions about our wedding behind my back. You let her control me, control us, like I was just some extra in her little fantasy world. I know. And you did nothing. His hands curled into fists on the table. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was making things easier. I thought you didn't think at all, Nathan. He looked down. I'm trying to make things right. I leaned back, crossing my arms. And how do you plan to do that? He hesitated. That's when I knew he had nothing. No real apology. No real plan. He just wanted me to come back. To reset everything. To pretend none of it happened. I love you. No, you don't, I said. His head snapped up. You loved having me around. You loved the convenience of me. You loved that I handled everything so you didn't have to. But you didn't love me. His jaw clenched. That's not true. If it wasn't true, you would have fought for me before I walked away. Not after. Silence. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and tossed a few bills on the table. Goodbye, Nathan. I walked out. But that wasn't the end of it. The next day, I got a message from a friend. A weird message. Hey, are you okay? I heard some things about you. About why you left Nathan. I blinked at my phone. What? What kind of things? I typed back. There was a long pause. Then, he's telling people you cheated on him. I actually laughed. This man, this grown man, was running around playing the victim. He was spinning some sob story about how I left him for another guy. About how he had been blindsided. About how I had betrayed him. And the worst part? Some people actually believed him. I wasn't about to let that happen. I called him. He answered on the first ring. Hey, you're telling people I cheated on you? Silence. Nathan. I didn't. Are you out of your mind? I didn't mean for it to get out of hand. Oh, so it just slipped? Just accidentally fell out of your mouth over and over again. People were asking questions. I didn't know what to say. I panicked. So you lied. More silence. I was seething. This was so typical. He wanted sympathy. He wanted people to take his side. And what better way to get that than to paint me as the villain? Fix it, I said, my voice cold. I am not asking. I am telling you. Fix it. Fine. Okay. I'll tell people the truth. Not good enough. Post it. Publicly. The same way you spread the lie. He groaned. Come on, do we really have to? Yes. We do. I hung up. And guess what? The next day, there it was. A long, rambling post on his social media. Something about miscommunication and heat of the moment, and how he regretted spreading false information. He didn't name me directly, but everyone knew what it was about. And just like that, people saw him for who he really was. But the damage was already done. I lost some friends over it. People who believed his lies before he took them back. People who thought I was selfish for walking away. People who thought I should have compromised more. But you know who I didn't lose? Myself. And I was just getting started. A week after Nathan's pathetic apology post, I thought that would be the end of it. I thought he would finally leave me alone. That he would sulk in his mother's house, realize his mistakes, and move on. I was so wrong. One night, I was coming home from dinner with a friend when I noticed a car parked near my building. It wasn't unusual, This was a city. Cars came and went, but something about it made my stomach tighten. It was Nathan's car. I walked up to my building, pretending I didn't see it. My hands were steady as I unlocked the door, but inside, I was shaking. I shut the door behind me, locked it, and went straight to my window. I pushed the curtain aside just enough to peek out. He was still there, just sitting in his car, engine off, watching my building. I took a deep breath. Maybe he was just thinking. Maybe he wasn't actually here for me. Maybe he just parked here by chance. Then he got out. I froze. He stood next to his car, hands in his pockets, staring up at my window. He wasn't moving, just watching. I let the curtain fall. My heart was pounding. I grabbed my phone and texted my friend. Nathan is outside my building, just standing there. My phone buzzed instantly. WTF. Do you want me to come over? No, but stay on the phone with me. I turned off all my lights and sat on my couch, watching my front door like I expected him to kick it in. My friend kept talking to me, her voice calm, grounding me. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Then he got back in his car and left. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I checked my phone and saw a voicemail from an unknown number. I pressed play. Hey, it's me. I just wanted to see you. I just wanted to talk. I don't know why you won't can we please talk? His voice was quiet. Too quiet. Almost too calm. I blocked the number, but it didn't stop. A few days later, I got a text from an old coworker. Hey, kind of weird, but your ex messaged me on LinkedIn, asking about you. I stared at the screen. Nathan never even liked that coworker. They barely spoke when we worked together. What did he say? I texted back. Just weird stuff. Asking if you were dating anyone. If you seemed happy. I told him I didn't know and then blocked him. My stomach twisted. He was digging. But it got worse. That weekend, I got an email. The subject line? For you. I almost deleted it, thinking it was spam. Then I saw the sender's name. Nathan. I shouldn't have opened it. I should have just blocked his email right then and there. But something in me needed to see what he was doing. I clicked it, and I wished I hadn't. Inside was a long, rambling message about how he had been thinking. About how he realized he had made mistakes. About how he needed closure. But then came the photos. Attached to the email were pictures of us. From years ago. Photos from our first vacation together. From our college days. From our apartment. Photos I didn't even know he still had. And then, the last photo was of me. But not an old one. A new one. A photo of me from that morning. Leaving my apartment. Taken from across the street. My whole body went cold. I shut my laptop so fast it nearly broke. I sat there, staring at the wall, heart pounding. Nathan had been outside my apartment. Watching me. Taking pictures. This wasn't just desperation anymore. This was stalking. I grabbed my phone and called the police. But I had no idea what was coming next. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my couch, lights on, every muscle in my body locked with tension. Every noise outside made me flinch. Every car that passed my window made my heart race. He was watching me. He had been outside my apartment. Taking pictures. The police officer I spoke to on the phone was calm. Too calm. Dismissive. Did he threaten you? No. But did he try to break in? Harm you in any way? No. But he took pictures of me without my knowledge. He's been stalking me. It's not illegal to take photos in public, ma'am. I wanted to scream. They told me they could file a report, but unless Nathan actually did something, there wasn't much they could do. I hung up and called my friend instead. You need to get out of there. I can't just leave my apartment, I said, pacing my living room. You can if it's not safe. I didn't want to let him control me. I didn't want to run just because he was being a creep. But deep down, I knew she was right. I couldn't stay here alone. The next day, I packed a small bag and stayed with my friend. I blocked Nathan's email, his number, everything. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. A few days later, I got a call from my landlord. Hey, just wanted to check in. Your fiance was here earlier asking if he could get inside to grab some of your things. I nearly dropped my phone. What? Yeah, he said you forgot some stuff and sent him to pick it up. I told him I couldn't let him in without your permission. I felt sick. If he comes back, call me immediately. And do not let him in. My landlord agreed. But at that moment, I knew what I had to do. I needed to confront him. I wasn't going to be afraid anymore. I wasn't going to keep running. So I did something reckless. I texted him. Meet me at the cafe tomorrow at 5. He responded immediately. I knew you'd come around. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. The next day, I got to the cafe early. My heart was pounding, but I forced myself to sit calmly, hands wrapped around my coffee cup. Nathan walked in right on time, looking smug. Like this was just a lover's quarrel we were about to resolve. He slid into the seat across from me, smiling. I missed you. I didn't say anything. I just stared at him. I knew you'd want to talk, he said, leaning forward like we were on a date. I don't want to talk. I want you to listen. His smile faltered. Nathan, I know what you've been doing. I know you've been watching me. I know about the pictures. I know about the lies you told. And it ends now. He blinked. Actually blinked. Like he was confused. Like he genuinely didn't understand what I was saying. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, cut the crap, I snapped. I was done playing nice. You sent me photos of myself from outside my apartment. You tried to get into my building. You told people I cheated on you. His face twitched. His hands clenched on the table. He started, but I cut him off. No. You don't get to explain this away. You don't get to make excuses. You have made my life a living hell. You have made me feel unsafe in my own home. You have stalked me, harassed me, and lied about me. And for what? Because you couldn't handle the fact that I left? His breathing was uneven now. I just wanted you to come back. You wanted control, I corrected. He looked away. You don't love me, Nathan. You never did. You loved owning me. You loved knowing I would take care of everything. That I would fix things. That I would make you into someone you weren't willing to be. That's not true, he muttered. Then why did you do it? I demanded. Why did you try to ruin me after I left? His eyes flickered with something guilt, shame, anger, I don't know. Because I didn't know who I was without you, he admitted. I exhaled. That's your problem. Not mine. He looked up at me then, and for the first time I saw it. He wasn't sad. He wasn't sorry. He was angry. Not because he regretted what he did, but because it hadn't worked. Because I wasn't falling for it. Because I was walking away and he couldn't stop me. I stood up, grabbed my bag, and looked him dead in the eye. This is the last time we will ever speak. You will not come near me again. You will not call me, email me, or show up at my home. If you do, I will file a restraining order. I will make sure everyone sees you for what you really are. His jaw was tight. You don't mean that. I do. And then, just to twist the knife, just to make sure he really got it, I smiled. Enjoy living with your mom, Nathan. And then I walked out. I didn't look back. Nathan tried reaching out a few more times, but I ignored him. A few weeks later, my landlord told me he had come back again, trying to talk his way inside. This time, I went straight to the police. The next time he tried anything, a restraining order was waiting for him. He finally got the message. I never heard from him again. Months passed. I moved to a new apartment. A new city. I started over. I let go of the anger, the fear, the weight of him. And one day, as I was unpacking, I found it. The wedding dress. The one I had bought for myself. I left. And then? I put it on. Not for him. Not for any wedding. But for me. And damn, I looked good.